Yali Madad. So we talked about Tasbhihaat 2 weeks ago, and there are still some queries, or we can improve on it further. So let me start by Hazrat Imam's Farman. He says in Nairobi, Kenya, 1986, remember that faith is yours. Remember to practice your faith. Be regular in the practice of your faith. And remember that thinking of Allah is not restricted in time. Now we talked about Tasbhihaat in great detail as well as about Ismail Azam, and we kind of struggled about the timing. And as we just talked about that, how do we stay consistent in remembering of Ali Allah? So Tasbhihaat is one of the great tools that during the daytime we can stay in zikr continuously, different Tasbhihaat. And let me repeat the story of Bibi Fatima. We talked about it. And it's an interesting story for us to give us hope and understanding about Tasbhihaat. And so Bibi Fatima, who is very young, has 2 kids, and she's trying to do all the work and demands of a busy mother, and being the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, there was so much she had to do that she felt exhausted. She felt so tired, and she felt, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. And she sees that her father is giving the Male Ganimat, what would you say it in English? The winnings of the war. He was distributing among others. And she says, why don't I ask my father to give me one maid, so she can help me do this work. It is just too much and I just can't keep up with it. So she goes to her father, and I do not know if you are aware, whenever she would go into his presence, he would stand up. He'll stop doing everything, he'll stand up. He respected her so much. So when she comes in, he says, what do you need? And she says, then she tells him that, I get very tired and I really need just one maid for me. If you can please give that to me. And he says, what if I give you something better than that? And she says, I would love that. And he makes her sit down and he says, I'm going to give you a tasbih. And she's like, okay. And he says, your tasbih is Allahu Akbar. Okay. And she says, okay. And she takes it and she believes in it, and she goes home and she starts saying tasbih. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Now the thing which we do not know is that Allahu Akbar actually was her Isme Azam. Okay? But in stories which we hear, it's like given to her as tasbih. So when she recites that tasbih, there are few underlying things she was doing which we need to understand. Number one was she believed in it, that it is truly going to resolve all my difficulties. She was exhausted. She could not do it. So in today's world, in today's time, we have struggles at work, struggles in families, any kind of struggles. If we were to believe that this name of Allah, all the names are of Allah. When Maula Baba gives us a name, it's Isme Azam. But it is from Quran. All other names are also name of Allah. But that name which Maula gives this to us, it's blessed name given to us. But all the names are name of Allah. The underlying emotion is, the thing is which we need to do is to believe in it. So she believed, number one. Number two, what she did, she practiced patience. She was struggling. She was exhausted. Think of ourselves. We are struggling in our life, trying to keep up with the expectations. We just can't get to it. We feel so disappointed, in ourselves that we just can't do it. There's so much to do. She practiced patience. I have to do sabr and everything will be okay. So believe, patience, she didn't stop there. She practiced. It is one thing to believe and say, okay, it will be okay, I'll be okay, and I'll be patient. But if you don't practice, is it going to work? No, it's not going to work. So she did believe, patience, and the practice. And the practice requires you to understand the meaning of it. And when you recite it with the full belief in it. And the recitation is also different. You recite with your tongue loudly so you hear. It makes a huge difference. When you think of something and when you give words to it, it becomes reality. You have heard of that, right? So when you say the tasbih from your tongue and you hear it, it's a different kind of recitation. And then there is a tasbih which you recite inside you. And then it's tasbih when you are listening, saying it with people. All these are different ways of recitation. So when she did that, and remember we talked about it, that every tasbih has its own angel. in our religion, everything is alive. Every word is alive. Nothing is non-living. Everything is living. So imagine when you say a name and you have this in your mind that this is alive. You are waiting for it to come to life to you. Like you are waiting for your inner eyes to open up so you can see who is that personality, who you are calling. Okay? So when she recited in that way, what happened one day, she had a vision and she saw Maula Ali. And she was like, what? Is this the personality? My husband, my own husband? What happened that time? She came to recognize the personality behind that tasbih. And you know what she said? Ali Allahu Akbar, Ali Allahu Akbar. In this disbelief and in her, can you imagine the surprise? And so that moment is the moment which we all are looking for. Recognition of Imam. She knew Ali. You know, she was his wife, but she did not know Ali. So remember we talked about in Golden Jubilee, Imam says, I want my Jamaat to recognize me. We all know Maula, but is there a difference of knowing Maula from any politician than in Ismaili? There has to be a difference. So when she came to recognition, she said, Ali Allahu Akbar, Ali Allahu Akbar. In that emotion, when she was overwhelmed, she said, oh my God, Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. You are Subhan. There is no one like your example. And she kept on saying that, and that tasbih came to life too. She completed that Isme Azam too. And then she was overwhelmed with the emotion. She said, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. All praises are yours. And you know, and I call it a love story. Because it's a story of a mu'min who comes to recognize his Mawla, his master, his Imam. So imagine we take this tasbih and we say this tasbih as Bibi Fatima ki tasbih. And you know when do we recite it? Mushkil Asan ki tasbih. We have so many tasbihat, but these tasbih is different. Tell me why. Why? There are no tasbih which are associated by a woman. She was a woman. So there is something more to it. And when I said that Prophet Muhammad used to stand up whenever she would enter the room, why? Who was she? You know, we need to pay attention to that too. Was she only a woman? That's why? No, we know about Panchtan Pak. And if we know the story of Panchtan Pak, Bibi Aisha, you know, and Aisha said, can I enter under the sheet of Panchtan Pak? And he said, no, it's only for family. Was she not a family? She was his wife. Why? The reason is, which we don't realize it, that Bibi Fatima did the Tasbhihaat. She completed her Isme Azam. So what I'm trying to say, the power of Tasbhihaat. If we say our Tasbhihaat with full understanding, belief, and practice it the way we practice, it is a way to recognize Imam. So a person who has all the knowledge, but if his inner eyes are not opened by consistent practice of Tasbhihaat of 24 hours, it is going to be very difficult. The way we said, when we are boating, you know, we are trying to move further, we cannot have just one oar. We have to have both the oars in order to keep moving forward. So that is why Tasbhihaat is a way to stay in consistent remembrance of Ali Allah during the day. So when you stay in remembrance through Tasbhihaat and knowledge, okay, but all the time you cannot read and learn because your mind gets tired. You're doing worldly duties, you know. So when you stay in Tasbhihaat, when you sit in Bandagi on the 24th hour and you say the name of Allah, it will be easier to move quicker, further in limited time. What does that mean? Remember, it's all about focusing our attention. It is so hard to break the thoughts during the day and to attend to recite that word with full intention, full focus. You can do that if you're doing the Tasbhihaat. Now, the one thing which I want us to remember, that there is more to the status of Bibi Fatima. There is more. Remember, we always say Tasbih, Mushkil Asan ki Tasbih, Mawla is Mushkil Kusha. Like whenever we say we want to take our Mushkil Asan ki Tasbih, it is Bibi Fatima ki Tasbih. What does that mean? There's more meaning to it. So we need to stay, more into it, thinking about it, to understand that there are so many layers of deeper knowledge. When we stay consistent, we keep practicing and learning this knowledge, we will be able to learn all the in-depth knowledge of this practice. I needed to give example of, at least 2 Tasbhihaat. Number one, when we did this lecture earlier this morning about Noor. being alive. And there's a tasbih, al-hay. We say it in dua, hayyana, or we say it when we enter the Jamaat Khana, hay zinda. The root word is hay, al-hay, the one who is alive. And we all have been talking about practicing tasbihat, zikr, isme azam. For one thing is to become alive. And in Ayah Kursi also it talks about, the one who is alive, 2 by 255. So when we recite this tasbih, the way it has to be recited, and we have talked about it, what we are doing actually, we are saying to Maula Bapa that open up our inner eyes. Come, bring us to life. The way we have discussed that we were dead, but we want to come back to life. So when we say this tasbih, and with the knowledge of it, with the meaning of that, we want that nur. Because what we just heard, we ourselves are blocking the nur. So when we say the tasbih the way it has to be said, and we call upon Maula with love and giryazari that make me alive, make me alive. The mother listens to the child when he's calling with tears in his eyes, with the love and passion that I really need you, mother, come to me, bring me to life. He will come to you. And then there is another tasbih which is so beautiful, which is al-wadud, a friend. You're calling a friend who always is there whenever you are going through struggles, you're sad or whatever. Friend never turns his back towards you. He's always there to listen to you. So you're calling upon that friend. Now how do you call that friend? It matters. If you take worldly thinking, like worldly examples of friends, and this friend who is so powerful above all, he can do anything and everything for you. When you call that friend, oh my God, the way you call, he'll always be there. So what I'm trying to say that whenever we say a tasbih, pay full attention. First learn the meaning of it. And when you say it, it's not just a word, it's a live word. Believe that. It's a live word. And there's a meaning. And then you call upon that meaning. When you do that, then the miracle will happen. So first, it is hard. You say tasbih with your tongue because you want to do the quantity. Your thoughts are busy. But when at the night time you sit down and say a few times tasbih, it makes a huge difference. And if you want to practice this, do it 3 days, I would say. You will see the difference on the 4th day when you sit in bandagi. You will see the difference. It's like, honestly, it's like mathematics, 2 plus 2 will be 4. Sultan Masha says, if you will match a light, it will burn. If you turn the switch, the light will come on. It's not, how can it be if you switch the light? It has to come on. There's no other way about it. Similarly, if you do it rightly, you will see the nur. That's what Maula says. And he says in 3 days, just 3 days. But it has to be done that you take your first step and turn on the switch. So I hope that helps, and that would motivate us to keep doing the tasbihat the way we are supposed to do it. Right? Inshallah ta'ala.
I like the way she put it, that Bibi Fatima first, she believed that her father is giving, it would work. Then she did sabr, she was patient. Because remember, she was struggling, so she had to be patient about it. And then third, not only she practiced, but she practiced with understanding of that word. So when we're doing a tasbih and have no understanding of it, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So you have to understand what you're saying or who you are calling on. Because, and the other thing that I liked, she said that the tasbih is a tasbih, but when Imam gives the tasbih, that's a isme azam to you. So same thing goes for Prophet Muhammad, right? Because that tasbih he had given to her, because he was the Lord of the time. Then that became isme azam for her. To us it's a tasbih. We say Bibi Fatima ki tasbih. For her that was isme azam. So when she decided the isme azam, and when she completed their isme azam, then what happened? She got another isme azam. Subhanallah. Then in the story it sounds like, oh, so because she finished the tasbih, she understood that Ali was the Allahu Akbar. So she said Subhanallah. But we all know subhanallah itself is another tasbih. So what we don't know is there was a additional Ismi Azam that was given to her because she had finished the first one. It just didn't come to her. It was given to her as a reward of finishing the first one. But like she said, you have to go into a deeper meaning of that. We really need to understand who Fatima was. So why we are telling all this story? I mean, what is the story would do for us? We need to follow on her footstep. That when you go to Imam and say, I'm in this trouble, and all this started with when he said, so how do we invoke that, right? So now you have a clear road. How do you invoke your inner eye? You go to Mullah and say, you know what? This is my problem. And we already said that by going to Ismail Azam, right? And he said, okay, let me give you the tasbih, Ismail Azam. Because he gave, that becomes Ismail Azam. He did not give you any word which you already did not know from Quran. You already knew that word. But at that point, it was just a tasbih. But when he gave to you, it became Ismail Azam. Now, with the Ismail Azam, and when you believe, have patience, practice with understanding, that becomes complete. So I love it. There's a formula, right? 2 plus 2. You put all of them together, and when you complete that, there's a reward at the end. No doubt there's a reward. So somebody can say, and we can leave this for the next lecture somewhere, how many Ismi Azam can you have?
Subhanallah.
Can you have 1? Can you have 2? What about 3? Or more? How many Ismi Azam can a person have? I know, it's really hard, right? Normally we think, oh, 1 Ismi Azam, both hai.
For life, right?
हाँ, पूरी जिंदगी के लिए इनिशियली तो हर चीज़ एक ही होती है ना. Number 1 is number 1. So you always have first one. So there's a saying. Actually इमाम का ही फरमान है कि when you finish this, एक हार्दर का फरमान है कराची का, कि when you finish this and if you come back I'll give you another Ismi Azam.
Yes.
And then he repeats, and then I'll give you another one. So when you say 1, that means there's a second one coming. Otherwise you would not say 1. Because 1 is the beginning of the number for the other ones. So how many people can have, and how many should people have? So अगर तस्बीहात का हम बोलते हैं कि we should have a huge vocabulary and huge
numbers of
tasbihat, how many Ismi Azam you should have? And then that is so detailed.
Yeah,
what
deeper
about the
discussion.
Ismi Azam that you receive within you?
Yep.
What about that Ismi Azam? Not that Imam came and gave to you physically. What about Imam comes and gives to you in your batin? What about there was Ismi Azam that is not even in Quran? What is that Ismi Azam called? Did you know there can be Ismi Azam which is not in Quran? Remember, Imam can do anything. He's a Qadir Mutalak. He can do whatever he wishes. Then what is called when Ismi Azam is given to you which is not in Quran? What is that called?
Subhanallah.
So there is all, iska dusra naam hota hai.
Naam. Yeah.
So there's all the different steps of learning, and the reason I'm throwing all this, it'll give us chance to think about all this. So don't think we are limited to what we have today. There's much more. And every time you think that you got this, there's much more. Because it's like an ocean, right? There's no ending of the water. It's the ocean.
Once it's like, in the world example, once you like a diamond, you want more diamonds. A seeker would not be happy with one diamond. So in reality, superficially, it seems like one Ismi Azam for a lifetime, but in reality, Farman or Ginan, this is it. This is superficial, but it's superficial. There is so much more, It just depends on us how much further we want to go. 60, even 60 years old. But remember, this is physical ism. He mentioned there are ism which are given in batin too. There were people, and I know those people, they were there who got ism in batin. Yeah, not one, not two. There was quite a few big numbers of people during this. Yes, Diamond Jubilee. Yes, yes, yeah. Quite a few number of people who said that they want to go on higher level because they already had ism azams, not even one.
A related question is, if someone doesn't get a chance to go for Ismi-Azam, physical Ismi-Azam, but we know in our tariqah that the living or the real Ismi-Azam is Imam himself, because he's greater than the word. He's given us a word, but he, of course, the giver of the word is even greater. So, Imam is, and we have this in literature, right? National Question says, Imam is Naam Buzurg, Imam Zamanas. The Imam is the supreme name.
Yes.
So someone has, Shukr, we have Ismi-Azam, but someone doesn't have it, but they're a moment, or they're a murid, and they want to do ibadah. If they have the knowledge and recognition, even from the ilm standpoint, maybe not from ayn, not from the vision, but they have the knowledge of who the imam is, and they're doing the ibadat of Ali. Because even in Baitul Farman's, Imam says that the ball is an access point with which you'll begin your search. And he says, seek through the light and the name of Hazrat Ali. So even though we've been given this Ismi, but at the same time, we also, Imam Ali's name is always going to be there, right? Somehow. So someone has this knowledge of living Ismi Azam. Do they need to have a verbal, physical Ismi Azam, or is the name of Ali should be enough for them if they're doing it with their...
So that's what she was just about, she was saying. She actually said two things. So think about people in Russia or China. Those people, when they came out, we didn't even know how many Ismailis there were. Have you ever met any Russian Ismaili or Chinese Ismaili? You'd be amazed. How do they have all this knowledge and ruhaniyat? They never even met Imam. Or they just recently met first Imam of the time. They never met Sultan Muhammad Shah or Imams before them. How did they get all this knowledge? Or how do they have so much ruhaniyat? Meaning they were receiving Ismi Azam some other way. The reason we emphasize on physical, because we are living in a world where Imam is physically available to us. But if Imam was not physically available to us, how would we receive it? We have a limit. We cannot get to him. He has no limit. He can always come to us. So he will give to us in batin. So that's number one answer to your question. Second one, let's say we did not go to Imam for Ismi Azam. Okay? Has Imam given us Ismi Azam? She just read that format with 3 Ismi Azam in it. What was the key? If there's a word in Quran that we read, it's a tasbih. But when Imam said it, it becomes Ismi Azam. So what did Imam say? For 34 years, he did not give Ismi Azam in Jamaatana, in Baitul Qiyam. He works in a miraculous way. He gave Ismi Azam to everybody. Everybody. Not 1, but 2, but 3 Ismi Azam. Say the name of Allah. Say the name of Muhammad. Say the name of Ali. He gave 3 Ismi Azam to us. We always had it. So what we were missing, the first part, believe. Yeah, so you are absolutely right. You always have Ismi Azam. There's no Ismaili who doesn't have Ismi Azam.
If they believe and they know the concept of Imamat,
Then they will
then
know.
if they know the power of Ali, then that should be...
They already have Ismi Azam.
So see what you said, belief, knowledge,
Right.
and then practice.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Practice with knowledge. So you already have the belief. You already have the patience. So what was the third thing? Practice with knowledge.
Yeah.
Because there's a key, not just practice. We never say just practice. Practice with knowledge. And if you already have a recognition of Imam, you're already practicing with knowledge.
And it's so interesting that people who hesitated because they think they will not be able to do the practice. So they are thinking about themselves. It's not about you. It's about the name, which will give you everything you need if you have the intention. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's people look at it like that, but it's like this. And how do you get that vision? It's that when you have the knowledge. It is so interesting when you have the knowledge. It is so easier to practice. But when you don't have knowledge, everything is so difficult. You just can't do it. You know?
कितना अच्छा होता कि जब इसमें आज़म लेने जाने के लिए इमाम के पास और उसकी जब तैयारी होती है जमात खाने के अंदर और बताया जाता है कि इसकी क्या इम्पोर्टेंस है and then people ask questions that, am I ready to go and get the Ismi Azam? What if I cannot do that? What if I can? Then the answer sometimes it comes that if you are not ready, make sure that you do practice this and that, rather than giving them that it is a very hard task to do it. It is so easy that, do you believe in your own mother that that's your mother, that's your father, do you believe or not? You say, yeah, Imam is my mother and father. If you believe, then nothing is impossible. Rather than telling them that why don't you just believe that you can do it, when Imam comes in, and you will definitely do it because you believe in it. The key is the believing point.
आज ही सुबह फरमान में हाजिर ने वर्ड यूज़ किया, इफ़ यू आर सिंसियर इन योर इंटेंशन.
हम एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करते हैं कि परफेक्शन हो.
हाँ, अगर आप सिंसियर है, सिंसियरिटी के साथ जा रहे हैं, then there is no limitation. Otherwise हमारी habits are very bad. You know, we will not wake up. But if you really sincerely want to elevate, you will do everything possible. But just don't doubt yourself, you know.